Unbiased Trades here, and today we're going to be going over coding projects related to trading. So if you've started your coding journey and you've maybe got a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or so of doing lessons and just going through a code academy or data camp for Python, then these are some great projects to start with just to try and implement. And most of the time, with some of these, you can find answers on Google. Some of them you won't be able to, but at least for the beginning ones, you should be able to find answers on Google that can help you and kind of like finish the project kind of for you. But then you can try and to expand on it by yourself. So general types of projects. I thought I'd just give you kind of three general ones that can be really adapted to anyone. You can put a lot in it. You can make it very simple. It doesn't really matter too much. But first one is a scanner. So either using TradingView or others. So I believe Trade Ideas has an API as well. But TradingView, I know it's pretty simple, it's pretty cheap, and you can work with your own code using their scanner. So you could add custom indicators, you can just pretty much adapt it as much as you want. So this is a great starting point. You can just have a simple scanner for you that you've coded yourself. It may not be better than the normal scanner on TradingView, but that's not really the purpose with these projects. It's more to get you acquainted with Python and to be able to start thinking in code, which I think for me anyway is the hardest thing. You may be able to think how to do a project, but it's very difficult to think, okay, so now I know how this concept would work, like where do I start really coding it? Like what's the first step? It's kind of like writing any piece of writing. It's normally the first beginning bit that's very difficult. But yeah, next idea is making a trading journal slash stats. This is a really good idea. I only thought about this recently, but you can pretty much export any of your trades from any broker platform, and you can put it into a CSV file or an Excel file, and then you can just read this using Python and then turn this into a list, and then you could make calculations such as like net profit, Sharpe ratio if you wanted to go a bit more complex. And this is a really good idea. It's pretty like very simple to do. I don't think it'd be really that many lines of code unless you're trying to do a Sharpe ratio, I guess. And most of it's kind of just either basic maths or just basic coding. So this is a very good idea to start. You can have your custom little journal. Then using different APIs such as Finviz or Data Provider. So Finviz doesn't have an API, but there is an API you can find online that someone created for Finviz, so you don't have to web scrape it because web scraping takes a long time. But yeah, so just kind of explore APIs. This is a really good starting point. There's a lot you can do with APIs. So the Finviz API, you could just make it pull up fundamental data, similar to what I have done. Or you can use a data provider to do very complex things like higher data percentages, models. You can really go as in depth as you want. But just start messing around with these, trying to do basic stuff. I have got a previous video of just how to pull like one ticker's information using a data provider. So yeah, definitely check that out if you are interested in that. Now these are some more specific projects. So the first one is a probability of X amount of consecutive losses based off win rate. So you'll see these charts floating around on Twitter of how many losses you could have consecutively if your win rate was like 75% or something, right? And it's a very good exercise to try and calculate that in Python and try and create a list yourself in Python with these amounts, so you can see, like, can you work it out mathematically, and you can clearly see if you've got the answer right or wrong. Like with some other coding projects, it's kind of hard to see if you have made a mistake. But that one, it's very simple. You can just see. Next is making a function to pull up a chart on a particular time frame of any ticker. So this is pretty much using a data provider. You can even use like if you're making a daily chart, you could use a free end of day data provider. And you can just try and make a chart. There are pretty easy steps to do this. There's like candle functions and everything already in Python. So you can, well, not already in Python, it's in a library, but you can discover these kind of things and start messing around with libraries. And this would really help just kind of make your next step in Python. And then of the third one is position size calculator. This one's really useful personally. It may not be the quickest way of working out position sizing. I think probably just having like an exe or even an Excel sheet would probably be faster, but it is a good exercise and you can really make it customizable. So if you wanted to know like the different levels for different R based off what R you're using, you could totally code that into a position size calculator. But just the basic thing of knowing how many shares you should take to only lose this amount is a great way of doing it. So yeah, definitely check that one out. And then lastly is a kind of more subjective one. So this is calculating abnormal volume. This one's kind of a fun exercise because it will be your first one using indicators, unless you did indicators with the scanner. But this one, you'd probably use a Bollinger Band or EMAs or really anything else to work out when a volume becomes abnormal and, when it's a really strong volume compared to the rest. So you're pretty much just trying to find those ones above averages. And it's a really good exercise. It's pretty, you can make it quite simple, but then you can also make it way more complicated by using more indicators or more filtering. So yeah, the last one's really good as well. And the more projects you do, the better you get. That's pretty much the main thing I've learned. Learning coding is great. Doing lessons, you will learn, but it doesn't. For at least for me, it does not cement in my brain until I've done a project. Until you've sat there for like an hour trying to think of how the hell do you actually complete this, and there isn't that many resources online for you to find out. That's kind of the only way. You have to look through your notes, have to really think and problem solve to see how that would be possible. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing some more projects. Projects are always fun, to be honest, especially when they're trading related because you feel like you're bringing value to your trading. So yeah, definitely check these out, and I hope you guys enjoy.